Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So this is the third part of Selenium Framework series which we are developing from scratch, right? So in the last video we talked about like how we have created the project inside Eclipse Orange HRM project, and we have created a few packages as well, and we have created some folders and files. So this is what we have done in the last video. Now today we are going to talk about how we can set up Config.properties file and how we can set up base class in our Eclipse project. So let's have a look at the agenda for today. So we need to understand what is Config.properties file before practically looking into it, right? We should know what is Config.properties file and why do we need Config.properties file, and later on we'll talk about what is base class, right? And what is the importance of base class in the framework. And later on I'll show you step by step how we can create or how we can set up config.properties file in Eclipse project in our project, and how we can set up base class. So there is some theoretical stuff, guys. We should know the concept behind what is config.properties file, what it contains, what is base class, right? We should know that. So let's have a look some theoretical stuff before moving towards how actually we are going to implement in our project or our framework. So let's talk about the first thing, like what is config.properties file. So the name says like config, so it talks about some configuration settings, whatever we are going to have in our framework or our project, right? The extension of this file is .properties, so you cannot change anything like that, like any other name. So config you can change, but .properties, it should have .properties extension, right? So basically it is used to define application specific or framework specific configuration details, right? And a configuration file that stores key value pairs. So key value means, let's say we have configuration like URL, right? URL of the application, so we can define like URL is equal to so and so URL. So the URL is the key and is equal to whatever URL we have, that is the value. So that is key value pair. It stores the value in key value pair. Examples of some properties is stored. So we have browser type, like browser is equal to Chrome for an example, right? URL of the application example.com, and explicit wait times. So we can define some wait time as there as well. And why do we need config.properties file? So it is centralized configuration, so whatever we are going to use for the framework or our project, so all critical settings at one place. So basically this is a settings file where we can do all the settings at one place, and we can achieve or we can access across the project or framework. So all critical settings in one place for easy management of the project. Ease of maintenance, avoid hard coding values in the code base. So no need to go no need to hard coding the values inside our other classes, right? So we can have all the configuration settings at one place, and we can achieve the target across different test classes or other classes. Update settings without modifying the code. Reusability, so the same configuration file can be reused across multiple test cases or modules. So let's say if you have different modules or different test cases, so we can easily use the configuration settings from config.properties file. And flexibility, quickly switch between environments, like suppose we want to switch from one environment to any other environment, so all the configuration, if the configuration are same, then we can use those configurations for different environments as well. Now let's talk about what is base class. So basically base class is, I would say, heart, or I would say the backbone of the framework, right? And it contains common set of some utility functions, some common methods, and I would say common setup and tear down logic shared across all test cases. So common setup means how we are going to start our browser, how we are going to initialize our WebDriver, and how we are going to do the tear down logic, how we are going to end the session. So all things will be there at one place, that is base class, that will be used or shared across all test cases, right? So basically all the test classes extends base class, so that they can acquire all the properties of this base class. So common functionalities in base class includes initializing the WebDriver, browser initialization and termination, how we are going to start the browser and how we are going to terminate it, loading configurations from config.properties file, as we have discussed some like config.properties file. So we need to load the config.properties file, right, firstly. So how we are going to load that? So that will be done using base class, which I am going to explain in a couple of minutes. And then managing the wait times as well. Why do we need base class? So code reusability, as we have discussed for the same thing for config.properties as well. So same thing here, like avoid duplicate setup tear down logic for each test class. No need to do that. We can set up easily inside this base class, and then we can achieve our target. Scalability makes the framework easier to maintain and scale. So easily once we set up everything like reusable code and all the setup and tear down logic at one place, then easily like it would be easy to maintain the code base. Centralized control, right? So any changes in the test setup like browser settings or any other settings, we can easily do at one place only, and we can achieve the target globally. Foundation for test execution. So this is the main like foundation of our test execution, acts as a base for all the test classes. So that's why I have discussed like all other test classes will acquire all the properties from this base class. So those test classes will extend this base class. So let's have a look practically like how we can achieve, how we can create the config.properties file and how we are going to create action driver class. So my project is already open here, the Eclipse, and here this is the project which we have created, Orange HRM project, and inside that we have different folders: src main java, src main resources, src test resources, and we have created different packages as well, like com.orangehrm, orangehrm.action driver, right? So guys, I made one mistake in the last video. So the package name hrm I have given in caps, right? So basically if you see the coding standards, so we should give all the naming of the packages should be in small letters. com.orangehrm, the hrm also I have corrected, so that is also in small letters now. So com.orangehrm.base. So how you are going to change it? So simply right click and go to the properties, open the project folder, simply go to the java and then com and this orange hrm. So you need to just change this folder name, this hrm, to small letter, orange hrm. All should be in small letter, so automatically it will change all the other packages. So that correction you can do that. Now let's do the one which we talked about, like config.properties file, how we are going to set up the config.properties file. So you need to what are the configuration we are going to have? So application URL. The first thing is application URL. So how you are going to define? So this is how you can give the comment in the config.properties file using hash, and then URL, the key, and what is the value. So here I have application already open, so simply copy it and put it over here. And then we have browser configuration, so browser, and what is the name of the browser. And then we have credentials, so username and password. Like that we can define all the configuration inside this config.properties file. And let's say lastly implicit wait, like 10 seconds. You can give proper like in seconds. So you should always comment whenever you do the coding anywhere in the, whether it's in file or in any class, you should always give the proper naming convention, right? The comment. Now let's create, we have done with the config.properties for now, these many configurations. Now let's create the base class. So right click, new, right click on the package and then new and class. We have base class. So we need to create couple of variables over here. From properties class we'll create one prop variable, and we need to just import this import properties from java.util package. And then we, of course, we need WebDriver, so I'll use variable as driver. So you can change variable, but this is the ideal way to use, name it. And simply give, we need to import it, import WebDriver org.openqa.selenium. So you can see those two import statements are at the top, and we don't see any error over here. And I will define them like access modifier. I'll give like protected. Why protected? Because this can be used inside, like within the same package, and it can be accessed in other package as well if that class will be extended by any other class, right? So let's say we are going to use other test classes, so that is inside other package, so we can easily use these properties in child classes. Now what is the first thing we are going to do? We'll create public void one method, and a setup method we are going to create. So the first thing which we are going to do is we need to load the properties file, right? We need to start the configuration file. So what we can say, load the configuration file. Load the configuration file. How we are going to load the configuration file? So we need to create the object of this properties class, so that like empty object, right? So we can give the value here. We can give we can store the object in this variable prop, and later on what we need to do, we need to read the file, right? So for that we need to create the object of another class using new keyword file input stream, and simply import the file input stream from java.io, and we have to give stream. We need to store one variable over here, right, of file input stream class. So and it will give, we have to give the file over here, right? We need to read the file, so that's how we need to give the file here. What is the file we have? Config.properties. So right click and go to the properties and just copy from src. This is the main folder. Inside that we have src main resources. You can see src main resources config.properties. So simply give the file location over here, and still we have some error. So let's mouse over and you can see add throws declaration. So it will throw an exception if you don't get the file, like file not found exception. Now we can read the file using this file input stream. Now we have to load the file. So how to load? So inside this prop we have a load function, load method, and we have to give this variable over here. This is the file where we have stored, we have to give here, and this is how we can load the file, prop.load. And this will also throws, we need to add the throws declaration, so IO exception. So if you are unable to read the file, then it will throw the exception, IO exception. So this is how you can load the configuration. Now what we are going to do, initialize the WebDriver. We'll initialize the WebDriver based on browser defined in config.properties file. So this is how you need to give proper comment, so that whenever you are going to update the code, you can easily understand what you have made the changes or what we have added the code inside your code base, right? So what we are going to do, driver dot, not driver, what we need to do here, we need to read the property, right? Get property. So we have a method called get property here, and here we have to define the key, the browser, right? Browser, and we have to store inside a string variable, because that all the things whatever we have defined here, those are strings. String browser. Now we got our browser using this prop object. We have used prop variable, and there is a method get property. Using that we can read the properties from properties file, and we can get the value of this browser. So whatever we are going to pass it from here, like Chrome browser or Edge browser or Firefox. So based on that, now we are going to see how we are going to instantiate our WebDriver, how we are going to start our browser or session, right? So we can use if condition here. You guys can try with the switch case as well, right? There is a multiple condition here, like if you get like Chrome browser or Firefox or Edge, whatever name is defined inside config.properties. Based on that, we need to instantiate our WebDriver. So browser dot equals ignore case. We can use this method, and here we'll give Chrome. And what we need to do here is, now we are going to use the Selenium manager, guys. The new feature of Selenium 4. So that will that takes care of, no need to explicitly give the driver path. So Selenium manager automatically download the driver, okay, and instantiate the driver and start the session. So simply give driver is equal to new Chrome driver. Simply we need to give like this, and we have to, what is the problem, Chrome driver. So we need to import Chrome driver from org.openqa.selenium.chrome, right? So this is how you can give. And then else if, another condition, just a minute, yeah, and another condition, browser dot equals ignore keys, and here we'll give Firefox, another browser, and here also we'll create the object of Firefox driver. We have to give the name properly, Firefox, and it will import Firefox driver, right? Now else if, one more, browser dot equal ignore keys and edge driver, right? And simply we have to create the object of edge driver as well. This, and let's say if name is not defined properly, if you are not passing the driver properly, then what we can do at last, else we can throw legal argument exception. We have to insert new keyword, create the object of this one, and here we have to give like legal, that's fine, right? Now this is fine, and here we'll give undefined, or we can say browser not supported. Okay, and here we'll give the value of the browser which we are passing from config.properties. So our configuration is done so far here inside this setup method. So we have done the load the configuration file and then initializing the WebDriver like this. Now what next we are going to do, we'll implement the implicit wait. So what is the method? Driver dot manage dot timeouts. So there is a wait, we have different waits in Selenium, like implicit wait, explicit wait, right, fluent wait, like that. So implicit wait is the global wait, right? So this will be there throughout the the session of the WebDriver, and this will applicable to all the elements, right? So let's say we have given 10 seconds over here, so it will applicable for the this particular session for 10 seconds. If you don't find any particular element, then it will throw an exception, right? We'll talk more about different weights as well going forward. So let's say right now I have defined like implicit wait, which is global wait, you can understand like that, right? And later on, let's say if you have more dynamic application, we have more different dynamic elements, then we can go for explicit wait as well. We can define some condition over there. So right now let's use the driver.manage.timeouts, and we have method called implicit wait like this. And before that, what we need to do, we need to convert this into a string, integer, right? So how we are going to do, int implicit wait dot, we need to just parse the value, the string to integer. So and from here prop dot get property, right? So what is the variable over here? Implicit wait. Simply copy this and put it over here. So this will get the integer value. And what we need to do now, implicitly wait here duration of duration, I think duration of seconds, right? And we simply give the implicit wait over here. So this is how you can define your implicit wait. Now what we need to do, we have to initialize our WebDriver. We need to maximize the driver, right? Maximize the driver. So driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. This is how you can maximize the driver, maximize the browser. And what we need to do, navigate to URL. So how you need to navigate, driver dot get URL, right? So we have method called get URL, but here we need to get the browser. So how we are going to pass the URL. The URL we need to read from config.properties, right? So simply what you can give prop.get property, and here we have URL. So driver.get URL, and this one will get the URL of the application. So pretty much I think we are done the setup of our base class. Now what we are going to do, let's test this configuration whether it is working fine or not. And you can arrange the code properly, Control Shift F. Now what I'll do, I'll create one dummy test to test our configuration whether it is working fine or not. So we have inside src test java, we have already created the package.com.orangehrm.test. right click, and I'll create one class dummy, that's a dummy test, or you can create like dummy class for now, dummy class, finish, and inside that I'll create public void dummy test. One more configuration we forgot, guys, so we need to write another method as well, public void teardown. So once we initialize the driver, once our testing is done, once we execute our test case, then we have to close the browser as well. So for that we have this teardown logic, right? So if we'll put condition, if driver is not equal to null, then simply we'll close the session, driver.quit. So we have another method called driver.close as well. So what is the difference between driver.close or driver.quit? So quit will close all the sessions, all the active browsers, right? Whether the new window is there or in the, like we have opened the window in different tabs, it will close all the all the browsers and close the session, WebDriver session. Whereas in close, what happens is, like .close method, it will close the active window only and it won't close the WebDriver instance, right? So that is the difference between close and quit. That is the basic thing you should know. And when we use close, so let's say we are working in particular test case and we are opening a URL, we open a window and we are going to perform some task over there and we want to close that. So in that case we can close that the open window, and then we can come back to the main window and we can perform, or we can continue our testing. So that open window we can close through that close method. So in our scenario we can use this quit at the end of the method, right? Now we are going to test method. Now we are going to do one thing, we'll define before method. We are going to add before method annotation over here. Sorry, this setup, right? So before method, so we need to import this before method from org TestNG.annotation. So we have different annotations in TestNG. So if you haven't gone through like TestNG classes, then you can go through in my playlist. So there is before every test method, so this setup will run, and what we'll do, we'll define this as after method, and simply we need to import this as well, after method. So this is done. Now let's come back to this dummy class. So dummy class, and what we are going to do, first of all, it will extend base class. Okay, so we'll read all the properties from base class, and we have to import base class from com.orangehrm.base, which we have created. And what we'll do, let's say driver.getTitle. Let's get the title of the page of orange HRM. So right click and simply inspect. Title. So what is the title? Orange HRM is the title, right? So we'll store the string title. Now let's evaluate this. Okay, so we can evaluate easily through this Java keyword assert and title dot equals orange HRM, right? Colon. So this assert, Java assert, for we can use, we have TestNG assertion as well, like assert we can use assert class, and we have different methods as well that we are going to discuss in coming days, right? For now let's evaluate this. So this will evaluate if title is orange HRM, then the test case will be passed, otherwise test failed. We can give like title is not matching, the second part of this condition. Okay, now here title equals orange HRM. So if it, so let's print the statement, guys. Once it is, let's say this title dot equals is condition is passed, right? So then what we are going to give, test passed and title is matching. If it is failed, then this part will be executed. Title failed, title is not matching. So this is a keyword in Java, assert keyword. We can use TestNG as well, that we are going to discuss coming days, right? When we create different test classes and test cases. So if this condition is passed, then it will execute system.out.println test pass, title is matching. So let's see, let's try to run it. Before that, I am going to add @ test annotation here, and we have to import it from org testng.annotations. And as soon as we add this test annotation, we got run and debug button as well. So we can easily run and debug our test cases from here, test method, right? Now let me just simply run it. Click on run. The browser is launched, navigated to URL, and you can see quickly it got executed. Later on we'll put some weight as well, so we can understand like it goes to the proper URL, right? So you can see test pass, title is matching, you can see here, and you can see the result over here as well, dummy test. Now what we'll do, I'll give some other name, like deliberately I want to fail the test case, so simply run it again. This time test case will fail, and that the other part will get executed. Now you can see one failure. You can see assertion error as well, Java lang assertion error, test failed, title is not matching, so this part got executed. So this is how you can evaluate the result, right? So this is all for today, guys. So what we have done, quickly recap: config.properties file we have set up, and then we have created the base class as well, and we have created simply a sample test case using this dummy class, and we have executed the test case. So our configuration is perfectly working fine. So in the next video we'll talk about how we are going to set up our testng.xml file, how we can execute our test case from there, and we are going to refactor our base class as well. We are going to add a couple of more methods, and we are going to separate some, like we are going to adjust our code base as well on base class. So this is all for today, guys. So let me know if you have any other questions or anything in the comment section of this video. Please like and share this video, and if you haven't subscribed this channel, then subscribe the channel. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.